As I sat there taking my shower, I realized that water is the new gold. And I live in an area where it's surrounded by data centers, and the hidden costs of all of this stuff is coming back to bite this country in the rear. These capitalists do not care. They will pillage, they will crash and burn every single layer of soil, everything they can get their hands on. And then they move on to the next town, wherever the tax benefits are favorable. Now, I live in Austin, and from the time I got down here to now, not only have I seen the cost of living go up exponentially, it also raises the question of what do you really get? What are the benefits for living here versus your Houston or Dallas or any other part of this country where the cost of living is high no matter where you go? Small towns become boom towns until they're not. Then you push the locals out, and then we're back to square one, then on to the next town. So you can't really enjoy anything in this country anymore without the anxiety and the pressure and the tension being filled to the point where you feel like you're about to explode. How are you all affording to live in America? It is like ridiculous for a single person. Like I'm by myself, no kids, none of that. And I find it difficult, and maybe I'm out of touch. Maybe I'm out of touch. I cook for myself and make everything from scratch. Part is because I have a very sensitive diet, and I have to be mindful of what I eat, but also because I just don't see the point in eating out. You spend what used to be $50 is now 70, 80. And it's like, what's the point? You're getting mediocre Cisco food for a premium price. Everything is high no matter how you slice it. And that's not even factoring in if you got any type of health care, you got any student loans or whatever. And I look around during this quote unquote holiday season, and you think about what you're grateful for. And it's unfortunate that you have to be grateful for the littlest of things that you normally take for granted. And when I say it's unfortunate, it's because food should be a human right. Housing, the basics of humans are not being met. You have most of your paycheck going to housing. Like you don't have nothing left. And no matter how much money you make, it's always something or someone having to try to siphon it out your pockets. You're constantly bombarded with how much money you need to spend on this. And this goes up, that goes up. And then you just walk around with this scowl on your face. Okay, I'm not going to say you. I'm not going to say you. I'm just going to use myself, for example. I walk around with a certain anxiety every day because that's how this country makes you feel. You feel like you're living in this dystopian society that you only read about in books, like the movie They Lived or 1984, and Soylent Green. Like I could keep going. It's just so many Terminator, like, and that's not even factoring in the cost of living. So this is more of a rant video. I'm in a bathrobe, and I'm more comfortable like this. But at the same time, it's like you learn to accept mediocrity as if it's gold. Our quality of living and our expectations of what that looks like has gotten so low, but it's being sold as everything is great. You can't go to the grocery store without spending $100 on one bag of groceries. Then you'll have dummies saying, or let me not call you dummies. You'll have ignorant people saying that, oh, that's because you're buying quality ingredients. What was I thinking? What was I thinking? I'm just completely unhinged. God, oh my God, I should not have bought grass-fed beef. That's my problem is I'm eating too healthy. So that's where we're at in this country. You eat too healthy, it's a problem. You don't eat healthy enough, you end up in the pharmaceutical industries, industrial complex. So you can't win. The stress alone drives people into their addiction and their vices. Consumer debt. Can't afford to drive. Can't afford not to drive. That's the thing. You can't afford your car. You can't afford not to have one. Or you want a 15-minute city. So now you go live closer. And that's assuming you got a job to go to or assuming you got a business that you're running. All of these things are what drives people insane. That's why this country is so tense. There's nothing to celebrate. Then you have men that just get so bogged down in sports, exactly what they want you to do. Let's just focus on sports all day. No different than a female focusing on celebrity culture all day. It's all the same. You get distracted, you get lost in the sauce. In the meanwhile, nobody talks about the economy. Nobody talks about the true cost of living. There's no pulling yourself up by your bootstraps when there's no boots to pull up from. They have everything. And then you get gaslit by thinking that you're doing something wrong when you don't have these opportunities like they had 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 40 years ago. So that's what I want to know. How are you all afforded to live in this country? And am I off base? Am I just ranting and just going on? Or are you all feeling some of the same frustrations I have?